everyone, it's Camille from Camilleiam. It's January and it's snowy outside, so I thought we would make something snowflake themed. So today we're going to make snowflake French macaroons. And French macaroons are kind of known to be really hard to make. People usually have a couple fails before they get it just right. But today I'm going to share with you my tips and tricks to make an easy French macaroon. And before we start the video, make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any more of my videos just like this one. And let's get on to the video. The things you will need for the French macaroons are 3 egg whites, a pinch of salt, 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 cups of powdered sugar, 1 cup of almond flour, and whichever food coloring you choose to use. For the vanilla buttercream, you will need 1/2 cup of butter, 1½ cups of powdered sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a splash of milk or more if you think the frosting is too thick, and a piping bag. So the first tip I'm going to give you is to make sure that your eggs are room temperature. You can either set them out a little bit before you start making your macaroons, or if you forgot to do that, you can put them in a cup with some warm water for about 5 minutes, and that will make them room temperature. So we're just going to use the egg whites of our eggs. So we're gonna put those into our blender. You can also just use a hand mixer as well. So just separate the egg whites. And you don't want to get any yolk in or else your macaroons will not set up right. After your egg whites are all separated, you're just going to mix them until they're frothy. So just about probably 30 seconds of mixing. When your egg whites are frothy, you're going to add in your white sugar and your pinch of salt. And just mix that up until you have stiff peaks with your egg whites. My egg whites are all whipped up into stiff peaks, and this took about 5 to 6 minutes on high in my KitchenAid, but if you're using a hand mixer, it will probably take around 10 minutes. So once they are all done, they'll look kind of like this, so they stand on their own. And we're going to leave those aside, and we're going to deal with our almond flour and our powdered sugar. So we add our powdered sugar, and then we're adding our almond flour, and we're going to sift them together into a bowl just to make sure that they're a little bit more fine, and they'll just fall through all the holes and get all the big chunks out. Our almond flour and powdered sugar is sifted, and now we're going to go back to working with our egg whites, and we're going to dye them. I'm using this icy blue color. It's called Cornflower Blue from Wilton. And what I like to do is just put a little bit of it on the tip of a knife and kind of just tap it in there and then mix it around until I have the color that I want. A tip on how to get the perfect color for your mixture is to make it a little bit darker than what you want them to be like at the end, because they do fade in the oven. And another tip is to make sure that all of your utensils that you're using with your mixture are dry, because macaroons don't like any extra moisture added into them. So now we're going to add our sifted almond flour and powdered sugar into our mixture, and this is kind of where it can go wrong. So what I like to do is just keep mixing, and I mix it around about 70 times until I get the consistency that I need, and I'll show you what that looks like when we get there. This is the consistency of the mixture that you will want. It will slowly fall off of the spatula. Now we're going to take a piping bag and another color of food coloring that you want to use, because we're going to make the macaroons look a little bit marbled. So I'm using Wilton's Teal. Looks like that. And we just take a knife and dip it into the food coloring, and then just make stripes in the inside of the piping bag like this. They don't have to be perfect. Then we're gonna put the piping bag over a cup and spoon your mixture into the piping bag. Then taking a piece of parchment paper, I have outlined a cap onto the parchment paper of where I want my macaroons to be in the oven. And I just spaced them out pretty far apart. And you can use any sort of cap. I just used this milk cap. And then put it on a cookie sheet and squeeze your mixture down to the tip and pipe your mixture into the circle. And after you have piped all of your macaroons, you're just going to bang them on your countertop to let out all of the air bubbles. And then preheat your oven to 300 degrees, and these have to sit out for 30 minutes just so they get kind of hard, because if you don't do that, then they will all spread out and they will not be macaroons. So let them set out for 20 to 30 minutes until you can kind of touch the top and it's hard. While your macaroons are sitting out to harden, we're going to make our buttercream icing. So what you will do is just take some butter that is softened and add that to your bowl. This is a whole stick of butter, so a half a cup. And then you're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And this is about a cup and a half of powdered sugar. I may need more and I may need less. Keep adding your powdered sugar until you get the consistency that you want. And mix it up. And if it gets too thick, then you can add a little bit of milk. That also helps to make it a little bit more creamy. So I'll probably mix it up, add a little bit of milk, a little bit more powdered sugar until I have the consistency that I want. This is what you'll want your icing texture to be like, just a really thick icing consistency. Then you're going to do the same thing with the piping bag and the cup that you did before and spoon it in there just to get ready for filling our macaroons. Save a little bit of your icing to put in a different piping bag with a small circle tip. This is the Wilton number 3 tip. And we're going to fill it the same way, and we're going to use this separate icing for our snowflake decorations. Once your macaroons have set out for 30 minutes, they're going to have a hard top and you'll be able to touch them without getting anything on your fingers. Bake them in the oven for 20 minutes. You will know they are done when they lift off from the parchment paper perfectly. The macaroons are out of the oven and are all baked, and when they're done they should look like this. We have our marble texture on the top, and then on the edge we have this little ridge which they call the feet, and this is really how you know you've made your French macaroon. So taking our piping bag that we filled with our icing, and we're taking the one without the tip first, you're going to match up 2 macaroons of the same size, since they're all a little bit varying because we're not perfect. So you just take one and squeeze some icing out onto it, just like that, a little dollop, and then squeeze your 2 cookies together, just like this, and keep doing that for all of your cookies, and then we'll decorate. To decorate, make a cross in the middle of your macaroon. Then do another cross with shorter branches and add little V's to the end of each tip. Then I just decided to add little dots in the middle of each section. And here's what they will look like with their cute snowflake decorations. Do the same to the rest of your macaroons and you'll be all done. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below and let me know if you're going to try out these macaroons for yourself. And if you do, make sure to tag me on Instagram with the photo and the hashtag #NoFailMacaroons. And I'm going to be posting all of the recipe and the tips and the tutorial on my blog, so make sure to check that out. It's going to be linked in the description below, and I will see you all later. Bye!